Protect yourself on the internet with the only VPN to receive a perfect score from PC Mag. And you get 70% off for the next 3 years. Head to nordvpn.com/TYT right now, and you also get a free month on us.
Senator Elizabeth Warren has put out a proposal to reform labor, and it's quite comprehensive. There are portions of this that I love, and we're unfortunately not gonna be able to get to every nook and cranny, but I will give you the relevant highlights from what she's proposing. So for instance, she wants to give workers more power, protect vulnerable workers, and crack down on companies that break US labor laws. Now, one thing that really stood out to me was that she uses the word power quite a bit throughout this entire proposal. And the reason why that's relevant is because there is a difference between her approach and Bernie Sanders' approach. So individuals who support Bernie Sanders, myself included, notice that he's more about empowering the worker as opposed to simply protecting them. Whereas Elizabeth Warren is about reforms that would protect the worker. Now, in this proposal, she uses the word power a lot because she's trying to drive home a message that she wants to empower the workers. So look, this is my read of it. This is my perspective. It appears that she's listening to the critics, and that's not a bad thing. I think that's actually a good thing. And this is a good proposal. So let me give you more details.
Yeah, but look, I just want to say two things about that. One, you could frame it as she's listening to critics. You could frame it as she's listening to progressives. And that's a great thing. So, and this is a wonderful proposal, some parts of which are actually to the left of me. So, and this is what you do. The reason to empower workers is not just for its own benefit, so that power leads to higher wages. So again, I think it's an excellent proposal, but let's give you details.
One more thing about power, because I just want to really drive home the point how much she uses that word. The word power is repeated more than a dozen times in Warren's proposal. It's even part of her plan's name, empowering American workers and raising wages. A lot of Warren's agenda focuses on strengthening unions, which would in turn give workers more leverage on the job. Now, let's talk about specifics. One of the big ideas she's endorsing is the concept of sectoral bargaining, in which unions bargain not at the company level, but at the sector level. This is actually quite common in Europe, negotiating for all workers in an entire industry rather than just one company or workplace.
Now, I want to explain why that's so important. Let's take the car industry as an example here in America. The ones that are unionized in the North, the companies then point to Toyota and some of the other foreign car companies that came into the South and convince them not to use unions. And they go, well, look, man, their costs are lower because they're not using unions. So hey, and they put pressure on their own workers. You better not ask for any increased wages or benefits or anything like that. Otherwise, we might do like they're doing in the other American states, where they're not allowing unions, and then it could cost your job. It's a way of threatening and blackmailing all the employees in that sector by going to the lowest common denominator. So that sectoral bargaining prevents that, and so gives power to all of the car workers so they could get higher wages, better benefits by sticking together. If you don't have that kind of leverage, it is very difficult to negotiate with multi-billion-dollar corporations.
So let's give you more. This is an incredibly strong proposal. Warren is also championing one of her signature congressional plans, the Accountable Capitalism Act. It would require billion-dollar corporations to reserve 40% of their board seats for employees. Like this, she argues CEOs would be more likely to make decisions that benefit workers, not just shareholders or the bottom line.
I've said on many occasions that the German model, which this is very similar to, where you have labor on the board, is interesting and we should try it. So this is kind of jumping into the deep end and saying, yeah, we're gonna try it at the national level. I vote yes. I don't know how that experiment is going to conclude. I'm not as positive about this, but it's worked really well in Germany in bringing stability. It's 40% of the board, it's not half the board, and it's for only corporations that are strong and powerful enough to be past $1 billion. So I vote yes, and it's definitely empowers workers, and I think could create more stability.
Yeah, I mean, I really do like this proposal. I wanted to go a little further.
So I don't.
I know. I would want it to go further, but it's good. It's a good proposal. So Warren also proposes to ban right-to-work laws that allow employees to opt out of paying union fees in unionized workplaces, even though they get the benefits of collective bargaining. Doing this would boost union finances. So there are some situations in which, let's say, a company is unionized. If an individual doesn't want to pay union dues, they can make that decision, but they then get to benefit from all of the upsides of that union, right? So I actually think this makes all the sense in the world. Banning this right-to-work law makes a lot of sense to me. Now, she also promises to work with Congress to ban to ban non-compete clauses, which make it super hard for workers to find another job in the same industry. This actually happened to Tomi Lahren, right? When she was working at the Blaze, and then she was unable to work anywhere else for quite some time because of that clause in her contract.
Well, since she's a conservative and it affected her, this will be the one case where she's like, I agree with Elizabeth Warren. Okay, yeah. If it affects other people, I don't give a damn. It affected me, oh, that's a good clause.
Yeah, so let me give you some more on that. She would also outlaw so-called no poaching agreements for major franchisors like McDonald's and Burger King, which prohibit franchisees from hiring workers from another franchise in the same chain.
Yeah, so that's where she goes a little to the left of me.
Really?
Yes, because it depends. And again, if it's for multi-billion-dollar corporations, it might be a different context. But a lot of times poaching could be really damaging to a company. So someone could go to a new company and just come in and offer, because they have inside information on the company they just left. They can say, okay, here's maybe the salaries if they're an executive, and say, hey, offer them 10% more, and gut the company they just left by poaching from the other company. So it depends on the context. And so if it applies to giant corporations, it might be a different situation, because if you're talking about the workers at Burger King and McDonald's, you want to empower those folks to have as much leverage as possible. But if you're talking about small to mid-sized companies, that have a different point of view.
Interesting. All right, well, look, my main takeaway from this is political pressure works, right? Now, you have some candidates who are defiant and they'll just try to smear individuals who are applying political pressure. I'm specifically talking about voters who apply political pressure. It appears that she responds to it, and that's a good sign. And I'm saying that because this is a primary, and so for anyone who gets offended at anyone who criticizes a candidate, find a nice corner to cry in, because it's a primary and you're supposed to hold politicians accountable regardless, right? So if Bernie Sanders came out with a proposal, or if he came out with some wishy-washy answer on something that a progressive feels passionately about, I think it makes all the sense in the world to tell him how you feel about it, right? Because it could change the way that he shapes policy in the future. Same with Elizabeth Warren, same with every other Democrat who's running. It's a primary for a reason.
And don't be so biased that if another candidate comes out with a proposal that you like, that you're say, no, I don't want it, just because the other candidate that's my number 2 or my number 8 came up with it. Like Pete Buttigieg, not my top candidate, but the way he talks about the wrong Supreme Court decisions when it comes to money in politics is really important. On the other hand, he takes corporate PAC money. You have to be fair and give the true reality of their actual policy proposals and judge it on their own. Last thing I'm gonna say about this, she also talks a lot about the gig economy, which California is trying to also do something about, to give healthcare benefits, unemployment insurance, et cetera, minimum wage overtime to people who work in things like Uber and Lyft and nail salons and construction firms and strip clubs even, et cetera. I think some of those protections are very important. Again, it's a little to the left of me. I actually think that some of that is some of it is very practical and some of it is not doable, again, depending on the context. But it's a wonderful day in America that we have a couple of candidates that are going to the left of me, and they're running for president and doing great. Now, more about how you can save 70% off of military-grade encryption from NordVPN. Just simply head over to nordvpn.com/TYT to keep yourself protected from prying eyes. And for a short time only, use the code TYT to get an extra month off of Nord for free. Thanks for watching.